Hey everybody, it's Andrew Brown for the AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp, bringing you another video, and this time we are going to try to almost finish up this week, week 8, because I did ask Beko to try to solve our CORS issues. One part of it is solved, and we do have a few solutions for some of our bash scripts from some of our boot campers. Let's go take a look at one here. And so here we have, if you just move your bin ECR login just after the AWS CLI in git pod YAML, it will work. If you take a closer look at the login script, it expects the AWS CLI, I think, and can't find it to put in separate tasks. So here, if we go over here, the suggestion here is to say bash bin ECR login, and so it's to use that bash command, and so that seems like something pretty good there, and I think I'm going to adopt that. So thank you, Fadi. I apologize. Just because of the initials there, they throw me off with the 4, but I do appreciate the solution. So let's go take a look here and put that in here. So that's going to be bash bin. We have here bash bin ECR login. And so that should resolve that issue. I think it was Kyle also had another solution for our bash scripts. I'm just going to see if I can find it here. It might have been under our current week, week 8. Let me see. I definitely saw it. So let me just go quickly find it here so we can both look at it together. Okay, so I think I found it. So here's Kyle, and he's saying, I was looking for a solution in week 7 Fargate. I sure was. It says, the commands may not run when gitpod workspace start. Instead, you must use bash command not found bash template required. So it might be similar. So let's go over here. And yeah, so in the context here, and I wasn't 100% sure, but here, these are Ruby scripts. And so Kyle has changed it to Ruby and is verifying that they work. So let's go back and put those back in, because it would make our lives a lot easier if those work. I did like the idea of having them all in a single script called setup or what have you, but I think we were having issues with the scoping, like at least with ECR login. So we'll just put them back in here, and at some point we'll maybe do some better cleanup. But I'll go back here to our front end, and so this one will be Ruby, and this will be $Thea underscore workspace underscore root bin. This is the front end, so let's say front end, generate env, generate env. So that should be for that. And then if we go to our backend, where's our backend? Right here. And just to make sure that these do work, we can also just run these directly in the terminal here. So we'll just go to the root directory here and say allow and run that. And then we'll say allow, run that. We're not getting errors and they're generating them out, so we are in good shape. And we'll just do this manually. Bin ECR login, there we go. And so now, generate env scripts and log into ECR when we start up our workspace, and that will make our lives a ton more easy. Okay, but this is not what we're here for today. What we're here for today is to solve part of our CORS issue. So Beko told me that he had to make some changes for, I believe it was in API Gateway. So let's take a look here. And even Beko is like a lot more familiar with REST, the REST version than the HTTP version, but he found out the difference was that we were missing, I believe, an options here. So let's go take a look here. We have API Credder, and on the left-hand side, let's go to our routes, and notice we have an option. So he said we had to do this proxy thing with option. So I'll go over here. And like he told it to me, but I don't exactly remember how it works, because the thing is with REST, I think there's like a button in the REST API where you checkbox on proxy lambda, but HTTP, for the HTTP one, you have to do it this way. And all proxy means, at least what it means in the REST API, is that we'll pass along the headers and everything else to the lambda, so you have all the raw request information unmodified. But let's take a look here. To set up proxy integration, create a proxy resource with a greedy path as that. set any as the proxy resource, integrate the resource and method using HTTP and Lambda integration type. And this shows up under REST API, but he did this under the HTTP API, and he said that it helped fix the problem. So I might not be describing it very well, but maybe that's all REST API is doing is when you checkbox it, it's just creating those for you, whereas in HTTP, this one, it just doesn't do that, and you have to manually do it. So that's over here. I noticed there's no authorizer attached to it, but I mean, if he said he didn't need it, maybe that means we don't need it and it will just work. Like we obviously have it on here, but we possibly don't need it over here. But we don't have authorization applied here at all. Aren't we supposed to have that attached? So give me a second. I'll be back in a moment. All right, sorry. Yeah, so I just was asking Bako, but you know what? I was just confused by the UI. There actually is authorization attached here. This one doesn't have one and doesn't need to have one. And just talking to Bako about this, he had to read the API greatly in detail, and he was reading these same pages. I don't think he realized he was under the REST one, but it did work. So maybe that is just a deficit of the AWS documentation, which normally the documentation is great. So don't know why that's missing there, or maybe it is there and we don't see it. But anyway, this needs to happen. The other thing that Bako told me is that we need to pass the origin along. Otherwise, our request will not work. And I believe you meant on for the key URL. So we'll go ahead and we'll try this. I'm expecting it to fail, and then we'll add in the origin. We'll see what happens. Another thing he was saying is that maybe I didn't need to put the HTTPS into the, well, he said earlier, but before the fix, that maybe I didn't have to put that into the origins. Let's go take a look at the CORS and see what's been changed. So in our CORS here, I don't see anything. Is that right? Nothing. Okay. There's nothing in CORS. But we have proxy. Okay. Well, he did say he read this very thoroughly. So, and I remember when he was talking about this, he said, yeah, if you do this, it bypasses this CORS stuff, and then CORS is being handled by your Lambda function. That's another thing. And so in our Lambda function, we actually do return those CORS headers. So maybe that's what we did when we went to our Ruby function and we coded those in. I always I've done this stuff a lot. I just can't remember. I can't keep it in my head because when you get it working, you don't do it often, you forget. I really wish I had a CORS course just because I just can't ever remember it. I don't ever write it down. But if we go over to the Lambda here, in our, it's for the generation of the URL, which I believe is this. If we go into our code here, we are returning, your code has been updated while you're making changes. That is totally fine. We'll hit OK. But we return these. And so, I mean, he was saying like we didn't have to do this part, but I mean, it's in here, so I think it's okay. But what I'm going to do is take a look here. Just give this a refresh because it was saying like code has been changed, so I'm not sure what it's talking about there. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll copy the contents here. I just want to make sure the one that I have is the same that matches if Bako made any changes. I don't think that he made any changes to this part. But we'll go into our CRUD avatar upload here, and it is this part that we'll replace. And so what we have here is these headers. Okay. Now, of course, we'll take this out because that was for debugging, but we don't really want this one in here. We want to have whatever the new one is. So we'll have to get our application running here. So that's what we'll do. I'll do a Docker compose up. And we'll wait for that to spin up. Let's try that again. Or did we already get it running here and I just wasn't paying attention? No, I don't have it running. We'll do a Docker compose up. It's terminated. Why does it keep terminating? No such file directory Flask backend Flask env. I thought we generated it. Maybe we did not run the other one. We just ran the front end one. Hold on here. Yeah, we only ran the front end one. So I'll just do this here. Well, I only ran the front end one. Maybe you ran both. I'll do that. And I'll go back here and we'll do a Docker compose up. There we go. And so those will pull the images. But yeah, I think you can put HTTPS colon / forward in it. But the other thing is, like, we could just do this and see if that works. So here it says US 94. So I'm just going to change this to US 94. And, well, we'll wait for this to start running, and then we'll grab the URL, okay? So I'll be back here in a second. All right, so it says that it should be running now. We obviously need to get that database going here. So we'll do our bin db schema load. Connection failed. Wow, what do you mean a connection failed? Database creator doesn't. Oh, right, creator database setup. Sorry. And so we've set that up. We're going to go to DDB, and we'll do our schema load. And then after that, we will do our seed. Great. And so now I'm going to go over to our database here, or app. It's running. So we have this URL here. I'm going to go here and replace it. I can't remember if we're supposed to have this part in the request or not. I'm pretty sure it complained when I did not have that in there. So I'm pretty certain that I'm supposed to allow access origin. Let's look that up. Format. Yeah, so this example shows HTTPS, so I do believe that you can do that. It was complaining when we had that wildcard there before, so wildcard when the credentials were turned on. Obviously, we're not managing CORS that way anymore. It is being handled by the Lambda itself. But I think that what we have is correct here. So we have options, get, and post. It's either get or post, but we just have both in here to make our lives a little bit easier. So I'm going to go here and copy the code. We'll go back over to our Lambda here, and we'll just go ahead and paste this in here and say deploy. And this will deploy our latest changes. Okay, and so now that this code is updated, what we can do is go test out this Lambda. How were we doing this before? I don't remember, but let's go ahead and log in and see if we just click that link. That's probably what we're doing. Capital T testing exclamation mark 1 2 3 here. And if we go to our profile and we're not seeing data here. There was a reason for this last time. I don't remember why. Let's go take a look. Failed to fetch, is that what it's saying? Oh, it's failing with a 500 error. Why is it failing? I feel like we did this. This feels like deja vu to me. But we'll go and check out. We'll resolve that first, make sure that's not an issue. Maybe there's a piece of code I did not commit from last time. View logs. Oh, it's the darn bio column. Yeah, we definitely remember this. This is because we need to do a little bit more work with our migration file. So that's something we'll definitely need to solve soon. But we'll go here and we'll say migrate. Yeah, there we go. Because like we shouldn't have to do that every time, right? So we just need a way to manage that schema. And so really like the schema data, maybe we need to update the SQL file to have the latest timestamp or something like that. We'll figure it out as we go. But anyway, yeah, the issue is like because we keep tearing down our database, and so it doesn't know what migrations still live there. I mean, I guess it makes, no, I think it's fine because like if this was a Rails app, we would probably do a setup and then a migrate. So probably what we should be doing is updating our setup script to also do the migrate. That's probably what our problem is, if I think about it now. So if we go here, we should really do a migration. So in here, I'd probably do it after this, and I would do bin, it's not bin, what is this, migrate? There we go. And so that would resolve our issue there. Anyway, coming back over here, we want to click the edit button. So this one is to actually upload the avatar, which I believe, which one does the what now? Let's go look it up. Profile form. I do not remember whatsoever. Okay, so this is the one we want, which is the S3 upload key. I think this is the same. Let's just double check. over here, apicreditor.com. Looks the same. CLB X5FA 2YB. Yeah, it's the same. So this is the function we obviously want to trigger. This is being set up here. This is on the upload avatar for the div, not the file. Okay, so all we have to do here is click this for it to trigger. So I'm going to just bring over my terminal here, and then we'll go ahead and click this. So we'll click that. And what do we get back? Failed to fetch. Now, we knew that was going to happen because Baco said that we have to pass along the origin. And so in here, if you look at the request headers, we're not passing origin along at all. And so that's what Baco was saying, is that we need to pass an origin. So if we go over to here, and if I didn't get the instructions right, I'll have to just stop the video and come back and get Baco for this. But I'm pretty sure what he was saying was that in here, we need to have origin. So origin, and then what our origin is. And our origin is, we'll hard code it for now, is this. Right? I don't think we need the / on there. And so I think that's what we were supposed to do. So we'll go ahead and refresh this. We'll hit edit profile. Have this open here. No errors as of yet. This one's the superficial one. This one never seems to want to end. And we'll go back over here and we will click upload avatar. And now what do we get? A CORS issue. So I feel like I'm missing something. I wasn't told something, so I'm gonna have to go get Baco. I'll be back in a second, okay? All right, I'm back. I consulted Baco, and the one thing that he said was that we did not need to have a forward trailing slash here. So I just had one here. So like if you look here, I had one like this. I took it out. I deployed it. I went back over here. I'm going to refresh. And he says that that will fix the issue. So we'll go ahead and try that out. So we'll go here and click upload avatar. And if we go down below, we get back the pre-signed URL. So there we go. We get back our pre-signed URL. That's what we wanted. So half of our problem is solved. Now, I'm not saying I have the other half solved, but let's go integrate it to the next step. So the idea is that we get back to our pre-signed URL. We need to place that somewhere. So I'm going to make a new thing here. I'm going to say pre-signed URL, and I'll say set pre-signed URL. And so that's how we're going to handle it there. So I'll go down below. And when this is successful, we'll go here and just say data URL. And so now what we can do is down below here in the next part is we can, this is in our backend part, here is where we need to access that pre-signed URL. So then we just do pre-signed URL. And actually it's just really here like this, pre-signed URL. And those are kind of hooked up because we didn't really code it exactly how we wanted it. What we want to do is we really want to cram this into one function, so, or one calling the other. So the idea is that really what we want to happen first is that this will do, let me see here, let me think. So this is where we upload the file, right? And when we get to this point, this is where we need that pre-signed URL. So we'll go here, and I guess we could do paste this S3 upload key. I don't really need to save it, to be honest. I don't need to put this in here. I just need it to be returned. So this has an async, and I want to return that value. So when we get to here, I want to return the data URL. Otherwise, it will error out. So I'm hoping that this will just return it here. And I'll just say pre-signed URL equals await, like this. And then we'll console log it out, because that's what we're looking for, is this, pre-signed URL. Okay, I always forget how to use async await, so if there's something missing, we'll go look up my documentation in my cloud programming course. But we'll go here, and I didn't mean to click the top one. I'm going to remove this one because we don't need that one anymore. Well, we might want the actual button, but for the time being, I'm just going to comment it out so we don't have to worry about it. How can I get rid of this easily? I'll just delete it for now. But we are going to bring it back because we are going to want to make it a lot nicer. But I'll go here and I'm going to choose lore. I think we were testing with lore, right? And I'll go back over here and we'll see what we get. So what I'm looking for is that pre-signed URL. Is it returning? Pre-signed URL is not defined. So I'll just click on here. Oh, well, we didn't put a const on that. So we'll go back up here. And I'll just do this so I know that this is new. We'll go ahead and save that. We'll go back and refresh. And we'll hit edit. And we'll go ahead and do this. And we'll hit, I didn't mean hit save. That doesn't do anything. I wanted open inspect there. So did we get it back is the question that I have. So I have a lot of this like other console logging that's kind of getting in my way. I'm kind of getting tired of seeing it. So for the pre-signed URL, we do get back. Do we get back an object? Why is it still showing the old stuff? Oh, it's still there. So we have this. Oh no, it's okay. So it's returning what we want. That's good. But if we go to network tab here and we go down to our, doesn't show us anything. So we'll just try it one more time. We'll go to lore. And so we still have those CORS. So we still have CORS, but we are getting closer to the problem. So what I'll do is I'll just commit this as is because it's going to make it a lot easier for Baco to help debug it if we do. And so I'll just say fix, or well, this should have been a separate commit, but whatever. Run migrations when we do setup. Generating out a pre-signed URL should work. The other issue here, though, is that we're hard-coding this value. And this value is also hard-coded as well, which is not great. So I'm just trying to think about this for a moment, because we'll have to keep updating this stuff, and it's really kind of annoying. So just give me 2 seconds here. Sorry, I'm back. I was just talking to the dentist. I was supposed to go to the dentist tomorrow, and they're like, your insurance doesn't, we thought your insurance was this. And I'm like, I thought my insurance was this. And so I'm having this fun game of now talking to my insurance company because they're not covering my dental they were supposed to, but I will get it solved. Do not worry. No problems over here. But anyway, so these two URLs, we really should not have them like this in here. They probably should be passed as N bars. So I'll open up the tab here on the left right-hand side. And I'm sure we have N bars somewhere. Like here's an N bar. So this has the backend URL, and so I assume that'd be like apicreditor.com. So I'm not really sure how I want to do these because these are going to be whatever this is, and this is over here this. I guess it would be this because right now this would output this, or it should. But the thing is when we go into production, you know, we have API creditor, but that's not really what this is. It's still here. And so to solve that, we actually have to get the custom domain going for API gateway. Now remember that we already have API for our load balancers. So how could we have it for both? That is kind of the trick there. So that's something we need to think about. Because we can do custom domains here. So I'm wondering if we could point our load balancer to our API gateway for requests. That way that we can share the same one. So like in our load balancer, we would just say, okay, anything that has this prefix is going to go to the API gateway, and anything that doesn't was going to go to Fargate. And they call that the strangler pattern because it's an idea of where you can kind of break off part of your application in other places. At least that's what I think it is. And so maybe this is something we can attempt to do. So I'm going to go api.creditor.com here. And we'll go regional and we'll do that. There you can have edge locations. It's only supported by REST, so we're not going to get that. But I wonder, like, can we point ALB to API gateway? Custom domain. One option of using custom domain for private endpoints is to put an internal-facing application load balancer in front of API gateway. When you add a listener to your ALB, the option is to specify a certificate. Then you point your ALB to the domain. Now, that's kind of interesting because technically we could just have a private API gateway and point to it that way. But I guess That's only for VLC communication, or VPC communication. That's another reason to have is a private gateway means that it's not externally facing, or is it because you want to communicate with internal resources that aren't public facing? But anyway, we'll go back over here. So I don't know if we set up a custom domain, if this is going to work properly, but we can try. So here it says crudder.com. We'll go ahead and create that domain name. And we'll give it a moment. So yeah, now it has its own custom domain. It should still work on this one. So I just want to make sure that's still the same case. I just want to see if we set that up, if it's still going to be working. So we'll go ahead and do inspect. And we'll clear console here. And I'll go here and try upload. I'll go back over here, and it's still generating out the pre-signed URL, so we are in good shape. So that's okay that we added that custom domain. But we want to, well, hold on, because if we have it there, so here's the thing: is this one is always 1 second. All right, so it looks like I'm out of time for now. I'll have to come back to this, so I'm just going to commit what I have. I'm going to hard code these anyway, even though it's not best practice. It's just the time I have today. And we'll come back working on this tomorrow. But the idea is that I want to figure out this custom domain part. I want that other CORS part solved, and we need to figure out this hard coding part. But I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Ciao.